You. Thank you. All right. We are still continuing on in chapter 5, section 4. Like I said, I'm taking this section and breaking it down into several days of teaching because it is so very important that we get this stuff. Factoring a trinomial. This is not a trinomial. This is how we get a trinomial, by multiplying two binomials. But before we can factor a trinomial, we need to know where the numbers are coming from, okay? So if I was going to put this problem together using FOIL, F stands for the first, right? We multiply the first two terms together of each thing, and we get x squared. We multiply the outer two terms together, and we get negative 4x. We multiply the inner terms and get positive 2x. And then we multiply last times last to get negative 8. All right, now we always have our outer and inner terms that can combine. Now what we're going to be doing today is starting with what's in this box down here and trying to get back to the two binomials. Okay? We're going to start with the product and try to pull it apart. Do you need to shift your desk over a little bit so you can see better? I won't be offended. Okay. But let's talk about how did we get 8? Did we multiply or add or subtract two numbers to get 8? We multiplied two numbers to get 8. And those same two numbers we subtracted to get 2. Does everybody see that? Okay, so, no, you don't see it. The two numbers we used, 4 times 2 to get 8, we also subtracted to get 2. Okay, so it's the same two numbers. Now, let's also look very carefully. When I multiplied and got a negative product, what does that mean about the two numbers being multiplied? One's positive and one's negative. When you add a positive and a negative number, are you actually adding or are you really subtracting them? You're subtracting them, okay? So the key things in these terms or in these trinomials, that sign right there is key. Because it's going to tell me that once I find factors of 8, those same factors must subtract to give me 2. So let's just think about factors of 8. We always start by thinking, what are factors of 8? Well, we have 8 times 1, that gives us 8, right? And we have 4 times 2. Now, I've got to ask of these two groups, which ones subtract to give me 2? 4 and 2. So that has identified for me which numbers will be going into these parentheses. All right? Now let's...
How do you know you have to subtract negative?
I'm subtracting because of this sign right here. Because I multiply to get a negative, so that means that one of them is negative and one of them is positive.
So if it's positive,
Then you're going to add them. Exactly. Okay? So first thing here is we have two numbers to locate. This method that I'm using now can be easily used with trinomials where the first coefficient is 1. There is no number in front of the x squared. All right? Because we know what multiplies to give us x squared. X and x. And there is no other number that needs to be taken into consideration when we get the last two terms in that trinomial. So all we need to focus on is this. What are factors of 14 that subtract to give me 5? 7 and 2. Now, I need 7 and 2 to give me positive 5. What do the signs of 7 and 2 have to be to give me positive 5? Positive 7, negative 2. So this is the factored answer to that trinomial. Now, you can check yourself, and I say you better check yourself in the beginning. Because the most errors that are going to occur is that these signs are going to be in the wrong place. And when you check yourself by putting it all back together, that's when you're going to discover that they're in the wrong place. Okay? So make sure you FOIL it out, put it back together, and make sure you get plus 5x minus 14.
Give us another.
Oh, I got a bunch. Do not fret. All right? What's the key sign? This last sign is the key sign. I need factors of 15 that add up to 8. Don't worry about negative, positive yet. Just 5 and 3. Okay? 5 times 3 is 15. 5 plus 3 is 8. Now, I want 5 and 3 to add up to a negative 8. How's that going to happen? If they are both negative. That is the only way that it will happen.
It's the same thing if you have 3 on the side.
It is the same thing. Okay, Parker's saying, what if... Okay, never mind. All right, Parker's saying, is it okay if you have it this way? Yes, that's the same thing. Okay, because it's 2 terms being multiplied. And remember, the order we multiply things in doesn't matter. What is important is that one of the parentheses has x minus 5 and the other one has x minus 3. All right? Which in this one it wouldn't matter because your signs are the same, but in this one it would. You got to make sure it's x plus 7 and x minus 2. The two things can be alternated, but that's got to be the case. Okay, let's look at this one. All right, we're easy right here. We know x times x gives us x squared. Do we focus on 24 first or 10 first? 24, because the two numbers have got to multiply to give me 24, and then do what to give me 10? Subtract to give me 10, because of that minus sign in front of the 24. If you're going to multiply two numbers and get a negative, that means one's plus and one's minus. So what two factors of 24 subtract to give you 10? 12 and 2. Okay, now you're going to eventually be able to do this in your head, but just so that we can see what we've got going on. What are the signs of 12 and 2 have to be for the result to be plus 10?
Plus 12 minus 2.
Plus 12 minus 2. And remember to check yourself. Because you might get 12 and 2 right, but you might put the plus and minus in the wrong spot. And you won't know it until you check yourself. Yes? Because, okay. Because 6 and 4 don't subtract to give me 10. Okay? If I have 6 times 4 to get negative 24, one of them has to be minus, and one of them has to be plus. And when you put that back together, that subtracts to give you 2. Okay? Am I looking for factors of 2 or factors of 1? Factors of 1 that add up to, okay, well there's only 1 and 1 are the only factors of 1. And positive 1 plus 1 does what? Adds up to 2. If you get this as a solution, what does it mean when you multiply something by itself? It's squared. You would write it this way. Because you have 2 of the exact same thing. Okay?
Wait, I thought you had to multiply, subtract.